Happy St. Patrick's Day and welcome to our week 3 in our Spring Knitalong, which is called Slipping into Spring. And as you probably already know, we have 2 projects that we've been working on. Project number 1 is the beautiful shawl called On the Other Side. Here is the finished shop sample. And it is knit with 2 100-gram skeins. You have a main and contrast color, and it's a really nice large finished shawl, and it is a wedge shape. So you're starting at the tip and working up to the widest part, which is your cast off row. So the 2 projects are designed by Lisa Hans. Second one is called the Arrow Sweater, which I'm working on very slowly in my spare time. I'll bring that up to the camera so you can see the progress. And today in our Knitalong group we made tremendous progress. We had one of our Knitalongers casting off her shawl, so I will post those pictures in the event page later so you can see the different color combos. And then we have about 3 or 4 shawls which will be probably cast off tomorrow or the next day. They're very close. But the interesting thing about knitting the shawl is the closer you get to the finish line, the longer it takes to complete each row, because of course you're gaining more stitches and it takes much more time to go across that. So please be patient if you're near the end. It will be a real reward when you do complete your shawl. This one is knit on a 3.5 millimeter. You can start with straight needles if you desire, but you will have to switch to circular at some point because you gain so many stitches. And it's just a combination of 2-row garter stitch stripes. So the color that's not being used is carried up the side. And it has an I-cord border on one side, garter stitch border on the other, and then that pebbled work here is called mosaic knitting, which is a slip stitch technique. So you're using one color per row, but it gives the illusion of carrying the color behind to create a Fair Isle effect. And the second project, the Arrow Sweater, is worked top down, so there are no seams, and it is involving short row technique. Make one right, make one left, which will create the increases to round out your neckline. And the mosaic work is very minimal. It's just across the yoke on the back and the front, and then you're into the really relaxing 2-row stripes. These are not worked in garter stitch like the shawl, they're worked in stocking stitch, and you're working in the round. And then you are doing jogless stripes. We talked about that last week, and you'll find the link in the event page in the video from last week if that's a technique you'd like to try. And then you transition at the bottom into lace work. So I'm going to show you where I am now. I am probably halfway through the lace work. So I did start off with my short row shaping for the shoulders. There was a provisional cast on edge, so that means my shoulder seam will not have a ridge. It's completely smooth and seamless. And then I have the mosaic panel. I think that was 20 or 22 rows, so it goes by very quickly. And after I reached the bottom of the armhole, I was able to join it in the round. And here you can see the designers added a faux seam, and that is just a purl stitch right down the center of the underarm. And now I have finished all the stripes, and I am into probably the 2nd inch of the lace work. It's a pretty diamond pattern. It's quite easy to memorize, and she does give you the written directions and the charted directions. So after I complete the lace work, she leaves that to your preference. You can knit as many inches as you like. You've got plenty of yarn to use up, and you can make it tunic length or just maybe to the top of the hips. So after completing the lace work, you're going to do a twisted rib border, also in your main color, and then the final step will be to pick up the stitches around the armhole edge and work the sleeve down with some decreases, not a lot. So the sleeves will be worked in the round. I'm going to try using a 16-inch circular, but I'm sure at some point I'll have to switch to magic loop technique or my double point needles. So it's just straight stocking stitch in, for me it'll be in the pink color, and then I have the twisted rib at the bottom of the sleeve to give it a nice finish. And at the very end I'll go back to the top neckline and I will work on the I-cord bind off, and that will also be for me in the hot pink color. So I might be finished next week. The sleeves I think will go very quickly. And these are some of the combos on the table. My color combo for the sweater has sold out. This is a close one. This is the hot pink that I'm using, and this is the soft cream with the blue, teal, plum accents. They would go very nicely together. My colorway is a cream base with little bits of olive, gold, and dark lilac. And then the colors I used for the shawl are that beautiful gold that everyone loves, and it's together with shades of dark plum, olive green, gray green, and cinnamon. Quite amazing how differently it comes up when you see it knit in the 2-row stripes. And the finished width of the shawl is much wider than your average shawl once it's blocked. So the blocking on these two garments will be very quick. This yarn is so light that it doesn't soak in the water as much as other yarns that have a tighter twist. So you'll find that you may have it dry overnight and you can wear it the next day, hopefully. So we have a little question and answer with the designer, Lisa Hans, which I can read out to you, and then we'll get to our trivia questions, so stay tuned for that. So Lisa Hans, how long have you been knitting and who was your mentor? I started knitting in 2011 while visiting my grandma. She taught me to cast on and how to knit straight garter stitch. Comes in handy for shawls. The rest I learned from books and video tutorials. Question number 2. What is your favorite item to knit? Shawls. Definitely number 1. I absolutely love knitting and wearing them. Question number 3. What is or was your most challenging project you've knit to date? The Arrow sweater. So that is this sweater here, and I think it was her first sweater that she had designed because she's known really as a shawl designer. She says it was challenging because of the design calculations and the grading, and that's true. When you're designing a sweater compared to a shawl, you have to take into account all the different sizes, the calculations, the yardage, all that. With a shawl, it's generally just one size fits all. And the next question, do you have a favorite design? She has 2, Emelina and Lorelei. So I'm going to post the links to those. Those are 2 of her patterns that she has on her Ravelry page. And I think they both incorporate mosaic work. And I'm pretty sure they're both shawls. She is a designer of socks and hats as well. And another question for Lisa. Do you do this design work full-time? No, this is part-time work. I'm lucky to have a full-time job which allows me my creative freedom. And the last question, are you a morning or night person? And do you knit English style or continental style? I'm definitely a night person. Most of my designs happen at night, and I was taught originally a continental method by my grandma. So that's the way she's knitting, with the left hand holding the yarn, and a little bit less hand movements in between her knits and her purls. So, our trivia question this week, feel free to post in the comments your guess or Google it if you like. Trivia question: where did yarn originate from? So we're looking for the name of the country where yarn was first discovered. And it was a long time ago, before any of us were on the earth, and we'll rule out North America, and we will rule out New Zealand and Australia. So that leaves many other countries that you could choose from. So we will pick one random name, and they will be entered into the grand prize draw, which will take place, I think it takes place next week on our 4th week video. And I know some of you had a few extra ballots in the draw, so you may be lucky and be the winner. So tomorrow we'll have a preview video just a little bit before 10 a.m. if you wish to tune in and see what's happening at our Spring Vibes pop-up, and that's with Shellridge Yarns, an Ontario yarn dyer. She's just setting up now, so we'll have all the yarn on display, and you can certainly have a look before all the fiber fiends come in and get their hands on it. So hope everybody's making good progress. Feel free to post your progress pics in the event page. We love seeing your color combos and how far along you are on your shawl or your sweater. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll catch you tomorrow morning.